Final Fantasy, the series that has captured the hearts and imaginations of gamers for decades. It's a franchise that has taken us on unforgettable journeys across magical worlds and introduced us to characters who have become our friends, our rivals, and even our heroes. It's the series that has made us laugh, cry, and occasionally scream in frustration at that one boss we just couldn't beat. I'm Blast from the Past, and today we're taking a nostalgic trip down memory lane to celebrate the very best that each mainline Final Fantasy game has to offer. So grab a chocobo, equip your favorite weapon, and let's dive into the fantastical worlds that have shaped our gaming lives. Because let's face it, we all need a bit more Final Fantasy in our lives. Final Fantasy. Alright, the first entry in our series is the one that started it all, the original Final Fantasy. The thing about this classic is its iconic class system, letting you choose between 6 unique classes to form your own custom party. It's the old school JRPG experience that lets you truly feel like you're embarking on an epic adventure. And let's not forget the memorable soundtrack by Nobuo Uematsu, which would go on to be an essential part of the Final Fantasy experience. Then there's the world of Final Fantasy, brimming with mystery and fantastic creatures, setting the stage for the series that would follow. Most importantly, this game was the saving grace for Square, paving the way for a whole new era of RPGs. Final Fantasy II. Next up is Final Fantasy II, which, despite not being as well known and well loved as its siblings, introduced some interesting mechanics to the series. Instead of the traditional leveling system, this game introduced an innovative growth system where your skills improved based on how often you used them. It also took a bold leap by incorporating a more character-driven narrative, with protagonists like Firion and Maria that players could really invest in. Final Fantasy II was the first game to feature the legendary chocobos, and who doesn't love those giant feathered friends? Plus, the inclusion of guest characters added a new layer of depth to your party dynamics. And let's not forget about Sid, the iconic airship pilot who would become a staple character in many future Final Fantasy games started in here. Final Fantasy III. On to Final Fantasy III, a game that truly refined and expanded upon the series' core elements. The most notable feature was the revamped job system, allowing for greater customization and strategic party composition. This meant players could try out a wide range of roles, from classic warriors and white mages to more unique ones like geomancers and bards. The game also introduced the famous summoning system, giving players access to powerful creatures like Bahamut and Leviathan to aid them in battle. The world of Final Fantasy III, at the time of its release, was vast and beautiful, with hidden areas and secrets to discover that really rewarded exploration. And let's not forget the excellent pixel art, which truly stands the test of time. Final Fantasy IV. Moving on to Final Fantasy IV, a game renowned for its story-driven approach and innovative gameplay mechanics. The game's active time battle system revolutionized turn-based combat by introducing real-time elements, keeping players on their toes and making battles more dynamic. Final Fantasy IV also included a memorable cast of characters, including the conflicted protagonist Cecil Harvey, who undergoes a compelling journey of self-discovery. The game explores themes of love, betrayal, and redemption, which have become hallmarks of the series. The music, as always, is a knockout, with tracks like Theme of Love and Battle with the Four Fiends, remaining fan favorites to this day. Finally, The game introduced the iconic Dragoon class, with the memorable Kain Highwind leaping into our hearts and solidifying his place in Final Fantasy history. Final Fantasy V. Let's dive into Final Fantasy V, a game that takes the job system to new heights with a whopping 22 jobs to choose from. The customization options were unparalleled, allowing players to mix and match abilities and create incredibly diverse parties. Final Fantasy V was also home to the infamous Gilgamesh, the recurring comic relief character and fan-favorite boss who would reappear in later games. The story, while not as deep when compared to other installments, was an enjoyable romp that introduced us to endearing characters like Bards and Faris. The game also featured the popular Blue Mage class, allowing players to learn enemy abilities and use them against their foes, adding another layer of strategy to the gameplay. And of course, we must mention the beautiful soundtrack by Nobuo Uematsu, which includes classics like Battle on the Big Bridge and The Decisive Battle, proving that music is indeed a vital part of the Final Fantasy experience. Final Fantasy VI. Now we come to Final Fantasy VI, a game that many consider to be one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. The story is nothing short of epic, featuring a rich cast of 14 playable characters, each with their own unique backgrounds and motivations. The game's antagonist, Kefka Palazzo, stands out as one of the most memorable and sinister villains in gaming history, with his wicked laugh and penchant for chaos. The Esper system allowed players to equip magical beings to their characters, granting them powerful spells and stat boosts. This game also featured some of the most iconic scenes in the series, like the Opera House performance and the World of Ruin, which showcased the game's breathtaking pixel art and storytelling. Lastly, the soundtrack is a true masterpiece, with unforgettable tracks like Terra's Theme and Dancing Mad. Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII, the game that brought the series to the forefront of the gaming world and defined a generation and is living rent-free in my heart for 2 decades. The transition to 3D graphics allowed for an unprecedented level of detail, with iconic locations like Midgar and the Gold Saucer that captured players' imaginations. The materia system was an innovative way to customize characters, allowing for countless combinations of spells and abilities. The story was nothing short of spectacular, with a colorful cast of characters like Cloud Strife, Tifa Lockhart, and the enigmatic Sephiroth. This game also featured one of the most shocking and heart-wrenching moments in gaming history, a scene that still resonates with players to this day. And as always, the music is a standout aspect, with tracks like One-Winged Angel and Cosmo Canyon, Aerith's theme, and tons more that are instantly recognizable and beloved. Final Fantasy VIII. Next, we have Final Fantasy VIII, a game that dared to be different with its unique junction system, where players could draw magic from enemies and equip it to their characters. The story focused on a group of young mercenaries, led by the moody yet relatable protagonist Squall Leonhardt. The game introduced the innovative Triple Triad card game, which became an addictive minigame that had players scouring the world for rare cards. The romance between Squall and Rinoa added an emotional depth to the story that tugged at players' heartstrings. The game's graphical fidelity was a significant leap forward, showcasing beautiful pre-rendered backgrounds and impressive FMV sequences. And, naturally, the soundtrack is another triumph, featuring tracks like Liberi Fatali and the iconic ballroom dance theme Waltz for the Moon, and relaxing tunes like Fisherman's Horizon, Balam Garden, and Breezy. Final Fantasy IX, a game that is often seen as a love letter to the series' roots, blending classic elements with modern gameplay. The game featured a charming cast of characters, including the lovable protagonist Zidane and the enigmatic Vivi, who both captured the hearts of players. The skill system allowed players to learn abilities from equipment, adding an extra layer of strategy to the game. Final Fantasy IX also has some of the most beautiful and detailed pre-rendered backgrounds in this series, creating a lovable and immersive world. The story was a perfect balance of humor, drama, and adventure, with memorable moments like the Festival of the Hunt and the unforgettable scene at the Leafa Tree. And, of course, the soundtrack shines brightly, featuring unforgettable tracks like Melodies of Life and You're Not Alone, solidifying its place as another masterpiece in the Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy X. Now let's talk about Final Fantasy X, the first game in the series on the PlayStation 2, which brought stunning new visuals and voice acting to the franchise. The game introduced the innovative sphere grid system, allowing for deep character progression and customization. The story focused on the journey of Tidus, a young athlete from the futuristic city of Zanarkand, and Yuna, a summoner destined to save the world of Spira from the destructive force of sin. The game's turn-based combat system was a refined version of the classic formula, adding strategic depth with the ability to swap party members mid-battle. Final Fantasy X also featured the addictive Blitzball minigame, a mix of underwater soccer and rugby that had players recruiting the best team and dominating the competition. And as always, the music is a major highlight, with tracks like To Zanarkand and Suteki Dane becoming instant fan favorites. Final Fantasy XII. Set in the world of Ivalice, Final Fantasy XII took the series in a new direction with its real-time, semi-automated combat system, the Gambit system, which allowed for extensive customization of party member AI behavior. The story featured a diverse cast of characters, including the Sky Pirate, Balthier, and the Viera warrior, Fran, who navigated the political intrigue and military conflict of a vast, interconnected world. The game's open-world design and license board system allowed for a deep exploration and character progression experience. The intricate hunt system provided challenging side content, pitting players against powerful marks to collect rewards and improve their skills. Final Fantasy XII's visual design was pristine, with intricate details and a distinct art style that set it apart from other entries in the series. The soundtrack, composed by Hitoshi Sakimoto, brought a unique flavor to the game, with tracks like the Dalmasca Esther Sand and the Royal City of Rabanastre. Final Fantasy XIII. Bringing the series into the HD era, Final Fantasy XIII commanded stunning visuals and an effective blend of sci-fi and fantasy elements. The game's paradigm shift combat system offered a dynamic and strategic approach to battle, allowing players to rapidly switch between various roles for their party members. The story followed Lightning and her companions as they navigated the complex world of Cocoon and Grand Pulse, unraveling a tale of lassie, fallacy, and the struggle against fate. The game's Crystarium system provided an engaging method for character progression, with branching paths that allowed players to customize their party's abilities. The game's Eidolons, the powerful summoned creatures, were visually stunning and a formidable force in battle. Final Fantasy XV. The road trip adventure of Final Fantasy XV brings us to a more modern and open-world setting. with a focus on the bond between the four main characters, Noctis, Gladiolus, Ignis, and Prompto. The game's real-time combat system, known as the Active Cross-Battle System, offers fluid and action-packed battles, with the ability to switch between characters and utilize their unique skills. The sprawling world of EOS is filled with stunning vistas and diverse environments, encouraging exploration and discovery. The game's side activities, including fishing, cooking, and photography, add to the immersion and help to build the camaraderie between the main characters. The story of Final Fantasy XV, while polarizing, delivers emotional moments and explores themes of friendship, sacrifice, and the weight of responsibility. The soundtrack, composed by Yoko Shimomura, is another fantastic addition to the series, with tracks like Somnus, Apocalypsis Noctis, and Stand By Me, a beautiful rendition of the classic song by Florence and the Machine. And that concludes our journey through the best of Final Fantasy. From the first game all the way to the latest releases, we've explored what makes each title special and why they've become beloved by fans. Whether you're a longtime fan or just discovering the series, we hope this video has reminded you why Final Fantasy has earned its place as one of the most iconic franchises in gaming history. And if you haven't already, make sure to check out our top 10 Final Fantasy games video for even more epic adventures.